I don't see the red light. Okay. All right, let's say good morning. Happy Spiritual Sunday to everybody that's on Kabbalah.com and joining us on our Spiritual Sunday Facebook page. Hello. Loud. Let them hear you. Thank you for joining us. Absolutely. Okay, and by the way, someone reminded me, for the new people, they don't know who I am. Sometimes I wonder myself, but that's a different issue. So my name is Chaim Solomon. I'm one of the senior teachers here in the Boca Center, and I've been around Kabbalah since 1987. Okay, great. Oh, no, I didn't mean it that way. I was debating whether, never mind. Okay, should I tell you I'm only 43, but that's a different issue. Okay. Love you too. Okay, so welcome all of you who are joining us from out all parts of the world. So here we go. So when we understand, when you learn a little science, which many of you know I have a science background, the scientists tell us that the physical universe started with a big bang, an explosion, right? There was this primordial ball of matter that was the essence of all the universe. Every particle of physicality exists in this huge ball, and one day, they still don't understand why, because they haven't taken Kabbalah 1 yet. They'll learn. We teach you, don't we? Those of you who taken the class. Second class, boom, you already know why the Big Bang happened. So they say there was this big explosion, now all the universe came into existence. And here we are, right? And then from that came all the continued processes to create everything we have on earth. Let's stick with that, including humanity. Now we go to the spirituality. We go to the essence of Kabbalah. How does Kabbalah say the universe started? From the very beginning, it started with a thought. That's it. It started with a thought. And that's what I want us to understand today, the power of thoughts. Because it was the thought of the Creator that started everything, the whole ball rolling, including the creation of humanity and the creation of all the physical world. Even the ball of matter came into existence because of the thought of the Creator. So then thoughts are extremely powerful, because if it was the thought of the Creator that caused you and I into existence and everything we see around us, and in essence, all of the potential for us to have everything we could ever imagine and be completely blissed out, if it started with a thought in the metaphysical world that we call the endless world, then what about here on our earth? How does our world get created? Do you know, Kabbalistically, how many earths there are? How many worlds there are? How many populations of humanity there are? You have any idea? No. Good, that's nice. Do you know? Okay, one person out there in Norway is saying they know. There are 7.5 billion worlds, earths, humanities, human population that exists here on earth. On earth. Because there are 7.5 billion human beings, and each one of us are a world to ourselves, not selfishly or egotistically, but we are a world to ourselves, and we are constantly creating our environment. And how are we doing that? The same way the Creator did, by our thoughts. What did we just affirm? Consciousness is everything. Well, what does consciousness mean? Is it something out there somewhere? Consciousness is our thinking, the way we think, how we think, what we think about, etc. So our thoughts are things. Our thoughts are creative. Think about this. Envision this experience, this situation. So the first one is a person on their way to go visit some family friends, and they're walking down the road, and they're in a little unfamiliar area, and it's a little dark in the alley as they're walking through. Picture it? Now they see this figure in the shadows heading for them. Many people, what's going to be their first thought? Fear. Why? Because their thought is, this figure over there is not a good person, and they're out to do some harm. Is that necessarily true? No, but is that a thought in their head? So that thought in their head then creates what? Physiologically, the fear will create, the heartbeat will go up, maybe they start sweating, maybe they get a little nervous, maybe a little anxious, a little tension, a little stress, right? And then what happens? Then as they're walking and now they're wondering, Where can I run? Where can I escape? What am I going to do? How am I going to protect myself, etc.? Then the figure comes out of the shadow, walks under a street light, and now they see it's one of the people they were going to visit who came to find them just in case they were lost and couldn't find the apartment. So what happens to their fear instantaneously? Why? Did the fear disappear just out of its own? Their thought changed. From in the shadows, a bad person, now they see him in the light, it's a good person, and everything changed. So one moment they created a world of fear, the next moment they created a world of happiness and joy. Was it because of the person? Was it because of the light or the shadows? What was it? Goes back to their thought. Consciousness is everything. So we need to understand every thought we have creates our reality. Creates our reality. Because consciousness is everything. And if the Creator's thoughts cause the creation of everything and everyone, then so too our thoughts create in our level our reality too. So we need to start being more conscious of what we're thinking all the time. We need to be more conscious of our thoughts because it does create our reality. Now, I'm not saying to you to be overly obsessive about it. What every thought I have, what am I looking this way? But at least start in a bigger way than you've done before. Start to be more aware. What are your thoughts? How are you thinking? How are you letting yesterday's thoughts infect today? I mentioned this a couple days ago to a group of people. How many of you still have in the back of your mind, you still remember when people said, don't go outside with wet hair, you could catch a cold? Right? You remember things like that? So now, some people going, that's not true? Okay, right? So how many of you still, even though it's been years and years, you know that's not true, but how many of you, if you have wet hair and you're about to walk out, you have at least for a second that one little, and then you go, come on, right? We're still carrying it with us because we haven't transmuted those thoughts completely. So even if it's for 2 seconds, it's a sign that we haven't gotten rid of it altogether. So it still has some impact on us. Then how much more the thoughts we have that we've carried with us because of our experiences, right? Oh, you know, we can't trust those people or those people out to get us or whatever it is. All men, all women are this way or that way, right? Why? Based on what? On all 7.5 billion people? You should see the people's reaction when I'm sitting and we're discussing one-on-one in a student meeting, and someone will say, that's it, Chaim. Giving up on relationships, you have no idea. Every man or every woman I've ever met cheated on them. I say, really? So then all men or all women are bad? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I say, really? So you've met 3.5 billion men or 3.5 billion women that you can say all are? Now they look at me like I'm nuts. Because they don't realize what they're saying. What are they saying? All men, all women, all whatever. Can we really say that? If it's all and we're looking at ourselves now as the source of our world, then what are we really saying? Oh no, I've allowed my thought to tell me that that's what's the reality. And you know what will happen? Because we do believe in like attracts like. So if a person holds those thoughts, all men are bad, or all women are bad, or all people will do this or that, guess what you're going to find? You're going to find exactly that to validate your reality. Now, can you find other people who say, you know, the opposite? Every person I've ever had a relationship with that we parted ways, we've all parted friendly and happy and kind and loving, and we just knew it wasn't the right thing, we went on our way. Can you find people like that too? So then which is the reality? The one where they're all bad or the one that they're all good? We have a saying in Kabbalah 1, reality is not as it is, reality is as we are. Reality is as we are. So we're here every Sunday to change how and who we are, so that our reality out there will change. And that's why the Kabbalists also teach us, don't listen to what everybody else says in that way. Don't believe what everybody else is saying. How many of you went to a movie with a friend and they didn't like it and you liked it, or vice versa? So how many of you now change your opinion because they must be right? Exactly, right? Our first thought is, no, I'm right. My opinion was the right one. Now you can argue all day, but now we're understanding why could one say they enjoy it and one not? Thoughts are reality. So if they didn't like it, then that's going to be their reality. It doesn't have to be yours. It doesn't have to be yours. So we're coming to understand, where do our thoughts come from? Now, for some of you who haven't taken the classes, this might be a little far out. But I want you to realize, let's start with the other way. You ever been walking down the street thinking about something or whatever, and all of a sudden a thought comes out of left field? Right? Pops in your head? An unthought thought jumps in your head? Anybody not? Okay, you just don't want to raise your hand, that's okay. All right? But we've all had those things. You're just going down the street thinking, I got to do this, I got to get my grocery list, I'm going to work, whatever it might be, and a thought jumps in your head. So what do the Kabbalists help us understand from that? That means that our head, our brain, is simply like a radio. Does the radio actually create music? No. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story, a little embarrassing, because I was almost in high school at the time. I didn't understand how the radio stations worked. Back when the Beatles were popular, so the Beatles were on every station. And so I'm listening to one station, the Beatles song is playing. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm listening to another station and the same Beatles song is playing. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, how did the Beatles pick up all their instruments, run to the other station, sit down to be able to play the song? I had no concept that it was just records they were playing. I thought it was coming from the radio station, right? So we need to understand, our brain is like that radio. So what determines what you hear from the radio? How you tune it. You have to tune it. But meanwhile, in that case, there were 2 radio stations, and they were broadcasting whatever they were broadcasting. My choice was to tune in which one. And then whatever I tuned into, did I really have free will to hear what I wanted to hear? No, I had to hear whatever was playing. Then my free will was, if I didn't like it, I could tune to another station. But in essence, the broadcast station was just playing whatever it was playing. So the Kabbalists teach us there are only 2 broadcast stations relative to humanity. 2. One is the light of the Creator, is all the good things, the wonderful things, the sharing things, the kind things, love, kindness, and compassion. The other station is the one that we could call the ego station. What do I want? What's good for me? How I'm going to get it, right? My anger, my jealousy, my greed, my ego, my fear, my guilt, my shame, that station. And they're constantly both broadcasting. So now you understand even more the importance of our thoughts. But the thoughts that we have are not our own thoughts. We tune into the voice of the light, or the station of the light, or we can tune into the station of the opponent, of the ego. It's our choice. But we have no choice what's playing on those stations. Is that clear? It's a very important thing. So if you don't like, as we're learning, not to listen to the voice of the ego, then we want to stay tuned to the voice of the light, the station of the light, because it's going to tell us what's best for us in the short run. Rob the bank? Yes or no? It's going to tell us what's good for us in the long run. Help, give, go outside our comfort zone to share with another person. That's what the voice of the light's going to tell us. So it's our choice to decide which stream of thoughts we're going to have in our brain. And that's the first thing. Now, if thought of the Creator caused all of the physical manifestation, then isn't it possible that we could also think, well, then our thoughts also create. So all I have to do is sit at home and think about making money, think about finding my best relationships, etc., and it should show up the same way. Sounds rational, doesn't it? Does it sound congruent with the concept up to now? Yes, if the Creator thinks and everything came into existence, then we should be able to also think also. So we'll just think peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, and peace on earth, like people have done for thousands of years. And of course, in 2018, we see peace on earth, right? Because so many people thinking that way. So then there's got to be something else going on. So in the endless world, how many physical bodies did we have? None. In the spiritual world, there was no physicality. We had no body. We only a soul. In this world, do we have a physical body? Yes. So then there has to be some difference from our point of view between the endless world and this world. And the difference is the invisible has to take place through physical actions. The same way the soul took on a body to physically manifest the soul's behavior, love, kindness, and compassion in this world. Without the body, what can we do? Even you ever seen a movie about ghosts and spirits, even the good ones? Right? So what can they do? Bless you. They can't do anything. They can only influence us to do things. Because this world that we live in, according to the Kabbalists, is called Olam Asiyah. Olam Asiyah, the world of action. Without an action, nothing happens. So we can have the greatest thoughts. We can want to do and even have the voice of the Creator telling us what to do. But if we don't do that action, then what do we receive? Nothing. Nothing. That's why we have a saying that comes out of the Zohar, in case you didn't know its origin. The road to hell, paved with good intentions. What's a good intention? I have a good thought, but I'm not following up with an action. So why should it be the road to hell? Why not it be just like no road? Right? It's just a thought, no action, no big deal. Like what they say, no harm, no foul. You remember that in sports? No harm, no foul. No! Why is it good intent without the action is the road to hell? Because if a person listening to the voice of the Creator, and the Creator is telling us, do this action of sharing, it means that it's the highest and best thing for us to have eternal bliss long run, and therefore not enacting that act, not following it up with an action to make it manifest, then that light, that blessing doesn't get manifest for the person. But on a soul level, what do we feel? Supposed to have that good. Already feels the blessing, the goodness, the bliss that was going to come from it. So feeling the bliss, but not seeing it, heaven or hell? It's hell, right? How many people live in hell because they want a better life, they can envision a better life, but they don't see the better life? At least you could say if a person didn't believe in a better life and they're just living whatever life they're living, then that wouldn't be hell. It just maybe, I don't want to say purgatory, but like neutral, right? Because it's not, they can't have better. They kind of get used to what they're having and that's it. But when you can see a better life, you can feel the better life, you can almost taste it and reach out and grasp it and you can't reach it, that's hell. The road to hell paved with good intentions. So the Kabbalists teach us, in essence, go back to Kabbalah 1. When the Creator thought, I want to bestow my beneficence, all my eternal bliss on humanity, on the souls that are humanity, then came the action to create our soul, the vessel to contain that light, and then came spiritually the action to fill that vessel, which is why we all feel in our soul 100%. Why we feel completely blissed out or the potential to have it inside of us. Now we look on the outside and we don't see it. So that's the beginning of hell. And what do we want to do? Thank you, but why? We're here to get the hell out. Right? Okay. That's it. So remember that the next time says, get the hell out of here. Said, that's what I'm doing every day with Kabbalah, getting the hell out, right? And the heaven in. That's it. We want to get that out by doing what? We have to have the good thought and then make it manifest. Follow it with action, the same way the essence of the Creator did. Created a vessel and then shared its light. That's why when we act with greater kindness, love, and compassion, more generosity, tolerance, forgiveness, etc., we are creating a vessel and then filling it with that energy. You can't just think it. You've got to think it and then follow with action. That's why consciousness is everything. Because how many people do you know who can smile at you and say, oh yes, I love you so much. Until when? Till you need them. Oh, can you come help me? Well, I do love you, but... So do they really love us? No. You follow? But the words said they did, but their actions didn't follow. And that's why we also say, Actions speak louder than words. And the consciousness behind the action speak louder than anything. Good intent in sharing brings good results. An ego-centered intent in an action, even that looks like of sharing, will long-term bring hell. So consciousness is everything, and we follow it with actions. And this is why it is important to understand Kabbalah is not positive thinking. It is not. Because positive thinking, as most people have heard of it, is I just have to think positive and then things will show up, right? All I have to do is visualize. Getting the check for the $1 million, it'll show up. All I have to do is visualize that person coming to ask me out, and they'll come and ask me out. All I have to do is visualize my boss give me a raise, and they'll give me a raise. Well, any of you bosses? Or somehow in a supervisory position? So if you have an employee, just sit down all day like this and just closing their eyes, envisioning you giving them a raise, a raise, a raise, a raise. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for a couple months. Of course, you wouldn't let them do that for that long. But what would you think? Oh, yes, of course I want to give you a raise. No, they're not doing any action. They have to do the actions to be worthy of it. So positive thinking is not enough. Not that we shouldn't be positive. Understand that also. But just positive thinking, because generally what does positive thinking start with? What I want. What I want. Give me what I want. So I always like the example. So let's say you have two people that are positive thinking. One is driving west, one is driving north on the road. There's an intersection, and both of them are positively thinking, green light, green light, green light, because I'm in a hurry. So they both get green lights. And then guess what? Two positive thinkers will meet each other right in the middle of that intersection. Because why? Was it based on sharing the light, going outside of themselves to be of more love, kindness, and compassion, greater service to another person? No, it's about what I want. Give me what I want. When we let the light of the Creator control us and not the voice of the ego, then we're putting into the cosmos the light of our soul, and the universe is preset, pre-programmed, if you will, to bring us the highest and the best, not only for us, but for all people concerned. So in the case of those two people, sure, maybe they're both a little late or whatever it is, and they're both in a hurry. But if they're both channeling the light and really just asking and opening themselves up to let the light of the Creator flow through and then act that way, then they're not going to meet in the middle of the intersection. One will go and one will not. And whatever will be long term will still be the best for both of them and everyone on earth. Because the Creator and the light of the Creator is always and can only be concerned about every human being on earth. It cannot be only concerned about 1 or 2 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 or even 3 billion of us. The light of the Creator is operating for 7.5 billion people's best and highest. Our job is to tune into it and do those actions. And therefore, as we act that way, so it will be. If we act in a self-centered way, then so it will be. I just read last week in the Zohar, which for those of you who are new, is literally the blueprint of the universe. It's the source of all Kabbalistic wisdom and ultimately the source of all wisdom. Whether you call it any religion on earth, when you call it any spirituality on earth, any form of science, it's all sourced in the Zohar. So the Zohar said, relative to this topic this morning, evil contemplation, meaning egotistically, egocentric thoughts, what I want, what I need, give me, etc., leads to the tree of death, meaning disconnect from the light, some form of chaos, darkness, challenges. It's not only physical death. Why? Because the actions are self-centered. What's good for me, in many ways, to the exclusion of others. Sure, all of the good people on earth, we do good things for others, but there's also those times when we do only for ourselves. But it says then the good contemplation, the good thoughts, the actions of being like, or the thoughts of being like the Creator lead to the tree of life. Because why? If we're channeling the light of the Creator, it's like spiritual breathing. If a person holds their breath too long, which tree are they going to be connected with? Tree of death, right? Finite, end. If they're breathing properly and smoothly all the time, they're connected to the tree of life. So if a person is not channeling the light of the Creator through them, then they're stuck. There will be darkness in some form in their life. If they're channeling the light all the time, then they're constantly connected to the tree of life. And even when things look bad initially, they will turn good, long run. Because we've made mistakes before, we have to fix them. So fixing them means facing our problems, right? You put too much gunk down your sink, can you blame the sink for being clogged? What a stupid sink you are. How dare you? Don't you know who I am? Right? Why are you clogging on me now? Well, duh. Right? You put too much junk down there, of course it's going to clog. But the pipe is still perfect. You just have to take the clog out. So when you spend the time to take the clog out, in a simple way, you've saved flooding your bathroom and all the cost and the expense and the waste of that. So yes, there is value in putting a little time to correct our mistakes. That's it. That's it. We have to correct our mistakes, so we've got to look big picture and know that if we're channeling the light, even if it's the next clog in our spiritual pipe, it's there to help us remove the clog so worse things don't happen. Okay? Now, what are we going to do for you and I? How does it work for us? So, thoughts are things. Then the way we've thought about ourselves make us who we think we are. The way we think about ourselves makes us the way we think we are. So I want you to envision, right, and follow with me. I have one student who was telling me how growing up, she was always belittled, undervalued, right? Like the end of the family, 6, 7 kids in the family, so of course being the last one, there's no attention. The parents are tired, the older siblings are moving on in their life. So being constantly reminded how undervalued, how little value she is, incapable, not going to achieve, not going to make it, etc. So now a person listens to that long enough, what do they begin to believe about themselves? Worthless. Worthless. The paradox is, the light of the Creator still pushed this particular person to do what? Become a successful lawyer. But inside the successful lawyer is still the thought, worthless, not so good, etc. So even though success in law still acts along the way, because thoughts are things and thoughts manifest reality, still doesn't believe what a powerful lawyer she is, how much good she can do. Does she want to do good for people? Absolutely. But does she feel powerless in many ways? Yes. Why? Because her 10-year-old is still reminding her she's not worthy, she's never going to make it, etc. So she's stuck. Now, can you imagine if that's you? We're feeling belittled, less than, undervalued. Are we going to go out and share the light of the Creator more powerfully? Or we're going to do less acts of sharing? Less, because we feel we don't have the power. What can I do? I'm powerless. Yeah, but you're a lawyer. Disconnect between the two. So then I have another student who was told, after she asked, how come she heard that her father had another family? How come none of the family likes her? Everybody calls her names, this, that, and the other thing. As a 6-year-old, she couldn't understand why. Well, when she got old enough to understand, guess what? The father had had an affair, and she was the result of that affair. So, of course, she felt worthy, she felt loved, she felt welcomed, right? The opposite, unlovable. So she's gone through a number of relationships, a couple marriages. Why? Even she'll tell me, she meets nice people, nice guys, but somewhere along the line, what happens? She throws them away, basically. Why? Because she still believes, because of the way she grew up, she still believes she's unlovable. So if she's unlovable, then why is this person acting like he loves her? Well, he must want something. Can't be real. He's got to be wanting something from me. So eventually what? Push him away, push him away, push him away. Right? Think. Don't let that opponent in your head block you from relating to this. Then I have a third student. years and years ago when his father was dying. He didn't want to face death. He couldn't envision his father dying, the father that he loved so much. So what did he do? He stayed away. He didn't go visit the father as the father's dying. So of course, after the father dies, what do you think the opponent put in his head? Guilt and shame. So now he's living with guilt and shame. Like attracts like. So if other areas in his life, guess what he finds? The same thing. Guilt and shame. Oh, he didn't do something right at work. Somebody just looked at him funny. Oh, what did I do now? Right? How bad am I? Why? Because he believed about himself that he did such a nasty thing for his father that now that's his thought. So he keeps seeing other ways that he can feel the same way. Any of it relating to you? No? Any of it relating to you? Nobody here seems to relate to it, you know? Think about what you've been told. Think about what you're believing. And it doesn't matter what we've done after that. Unless we can outweigh those negative, belittling thoughts, then which is going to be the majority, like a scale? If it's 80% the negative and 20% the positive, which do you think is going to be the actions of the person? More sharing or less sharing? Less, because they're not capable. All they're thinking about is themselves. Oh, how guilty I feel, how belittled I feel, how unlovable I feel. So is there thought about how to shine like the Creator on everybody else, or is there thought about how to look at themselves? Look at themselves. I feel guilty. I feel belittled. I feel unlovable. So I'm not going to go outside my comfort zone and share my light and expand my world of light. I'm going to keep it limited because that's what I've come to believe. So then now what are we going to do? If you've been living with that, like all of us have in some way or another for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years or more, how are you going to outweigh that? How are you going to change it? Is it going to take another 40 years? Then we're all hopeless. But fortunately, we don't have to. What does it say? Genesis tells us we're created in the image and likeness of God. We have the power of the Creator inside of us. What does it say in Psalms? And I'll tell you exactly which one. Psalms 86:2. You are God's, sons of the Most High. So what are we going to do? We have to keep reminding ourselves that's who we are. We are created in the image and likeness of the Creator. We have the power of the Creator, and we are all children with the power of the Creator. So we have to start acting that way. So what did the lawyer do? The lawyer starts to remind herself and even remind her 10-year-old. One day, imagine you go to a 10-year-old who's feeling belittled and devalued and go to them with absolute certainty where they can actually see it and believe it. One day you're going to be an amazing lawyer. You're going to go to law school. You're going to study. You're going to pass the bar. You're going to get a great job. You're going to be able to help people. Now, how do you think the 10-year-old's going to feel? When the 10-year-old can actually see that's true and that's a reality. Because when the lawyer goes to her 10-year-old and says it, is it true or not? Hello? Now they don't believe there's anyone here. Is it true? Is she now a lawyer? Yes. So she goes back to the 10-year-old and says, yes, you will be a lawyer. It's a fact. It's not a hope and a dream. It's a fact. So now the 10-year-old says, and they can see it, they can feel it. They see their name on the diploma. They see their name with a law degree. Now what happens to their being devalued and belittled? Now it can start to change. So from 10 to 40, that's 30 years of blessings that can now fuse into the 40-year-old. Think of that, because now the 10-year-old is unblocked. What about the one who came from that affair? So now realizing you are God, you have the power of the Creator, you have the light of the Creator. Go out and love other people more. Show them that you are lovable by being loving to everybody else. More caring, more loving. And when you do that, then what's the devalued child going to feel? No, I have the capability to love, and the more, that's the irony. The more we are loving to other people, what will the universe bring us back? More love. So pretty soon, then it'll outweigh the feeling of being unlovable. So what about the one with the guilt? Go out and be more God-like. Show compassion to other people who are sick. Show compassion to people who have sick relatives. Go out and gather a group to pray and meditate for people to be well, healing, etc. Right? Go out and act like God. Go out and share like God shares. Does God share metaphorically, because we know God is not an entity, physicality, but does God share with the people that hate him? Of course, because the only nature of the Creator is to shine its light. So people hate him, love him, or whatever you want to say, doesn't matter. Unconditional love. Our job is to do the same thing, to realize who we are, that we have the power of the Creator. We are the power of the Creator. The Creator's heaven on earth is waiting for us to make it manifest. So then today is a day we've got to constantly remind ourselves, hundreds and thousands of times a day, I am a pure and perfect being of light. I am a pure and perfect being of light. And also say, even if it's not verbally to everybody else, but look at everybody on earth and say, you too are a pure and perfect being of light. The Creator infused in your soul the infinite light of the Creator also. And that's the part I connect to. Reach out and grab the soul of people. Like CPR, awaken their soul, pump their soul till it becomes active. And they wake up out of their stupor of the ego and the devalued and the belittled and the guilt and the shame. Go out today and start sharing like God shares, outside your comfort zone, more than you ever have. Don't let that ego voice tell you that you're limited. Go out, and as you and I will share as God shares, we're going to show the world who we are. We're going to show the world that it is true, that we are God's and we are children of the Most High, and so are you. God bless. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. For those of you who are new, this is the time we bless our offering. And the purpose of the offering, why there's no price per se on this event, and actually, to be truthful, it's the only event, I think, in all the centers around the world that is just a love offering. Why? Because it's your expression of appreciation. As this changed your life to whatever extent, it's your opportunity to show what your appreciation is. So then, in one hand, there's no price for it, but whatever you personally feel the value is, it's your world and it's up to you. So that's why all we're doing now, we bless it, because whatever you share with the center enables us to go out and spread more of this wisdom and more of the tools. And before I forget, for those of you who are new, please inquire about these little books. At least walk out today with one of these. It's the power of protection. It's the power of blessing. It's the most powerful channel of light that's easy to keep, as you see, in the pocket, in the purse, in the backpack. Put in your kid's backpack. We cannot have yet enough light in the world. We don't have. So your offerings help us to make that happen more and more and more, to make sure the world has it. And the fact that we have people from all over the world and all walks of life and all religions is a testament to the universality and the power of what the center is doing. So if you'll hold your offering in your hand, those of you who are watching us, you're welcome to do the same, do the meditation, and then you can go on the Spiritual Sunday Facebook page and make your contribution there. So just close your eyes for a moment. Put your light, your love, and your blessing, putting it into this offering that goes out through the center to touch the heart and soul of every human being on earth, to awaken them to the light of the Creator in them. And we know, by reaching out to 7.5 billion people to awaken the light of the Creator in them, then those 7.5 billion parts of our world are also empowering our lives, our thoughts, to transform from ego to godlike, to the true reality of who we are. With our love, our blessing, we send it out to touch the heart and soul of every person and to manifest heaven on earth, peace, love, and unity. And we open our eyes and we say, Amen. So let's wish a happy Spiritual Sunday to all our friends. Thank you for joining us. Kabbalah.com, the Spiritual Sunday Facebook page. Please share with your friends that we're here on Sundays. And thank you and God bless. Okay.